right now we are going to have a guest interview that we are going to bring in live. So Jason, I'm going to bring you back in on the screen here. I'm going to call in our guest, Dr. Josh Satterlee, and then we are going to have a conversation around memberships, clinic gym hybrid, and just another way that docs can really improve a patient-centric model of care in 2022 while also decreasing their stress and increasing their revenue. So, Jason, if you want to maybe touch on what docs can look forward to with this show in the coming weeks, I'll bring Dr. Josh on.
Perfect. That's exactly what this show is all about. We talked about in our Mindset Mentor segment, what are you measuring as it relates to activities or actions to cause results? And, the reality is if you're not only hearing us, but watching us, one of the things we're measuring is doing this show every Tuesday next year for exactly the same reasons. We are doing everything we can to practice what we preach. Another good thing to write down, teach and invite consistently, but apply the principles to yourself as well. So what we're talking about is every Tuesday we'll be sharing this program where we're going to be going over these different segments each and every week. We're going to be talking mindset. We're going to be bringing some of the smartest people in the world to you, our audience. We're going to be talking marketing. We're going to be talking clinical conversations and much more. So you can expect to want to put into your calendar each and every Tuesday next year. Join us for literally a few hours where we're going to bring together a variety of different segments. We want to be the one-stop shop, the one place you tune into each and every week to tune up your practice and your life. The other thing I want to mention to everybody is that, this is not just the beauty and powerful of social media, is that this is not just television. It's not just us talking at you, but it is a conversation. So if you've got something you're measuring next year, whether they're outcomes or inputs, go ahead and leave us a comment down below. That's really part of the value of doing this program. It's always been said that a goal without a deadline is just a wish or a dream. It's also been said that goals and dreams that are written down oftentimes are much more attainable than those that are just thought. So if you really are serious about wanting to attain and achieve your goals for next year, go ahead, be vulnerable, take some action steps, leave your goals down below. That's really what this show each week is going to be all about, is us getting together, not just Jeff and I, but Jeff, I, and all of you, to be able to have a weekly conversation about what you can be doing to tune into your practice and tune up the results that you get each and every week.
Well, thank you for taking a few moments today. Jason, you are back. All three of us are live. So, Josh, I'm going to give a brief intro. It's the bio I found online for you. So I'm going to give a little bit of an intro. Then we have some questions for you that I think are really going to open docs' minds to new ways to think about their practice, unused space, memberships, recurring revenue. We're going to talk it all down. But for anybody out there that has not heard your name, in 2013, Dr. Satterlee opened a 5,000 square foot clinic gym hybrid to provide a complete start to finish solution to injury care, with the exercise programs providing the finest maintenance care available. To better offer the exercise to his patients, Dr. Satterlee hired and trained an amazing team of personal trainers, and the resulting clinic gym hybrid business model offered a great method for providing freedom for the doctor while serving the patient at the highest level. So Jason and I are going to kick it back and forth on questions here, Josh, but I'm going to do the first one. What is a clinic gym model, and what does that mean in your words? Let's start right there.
Yeah, I think you can look at it two ways. Number one, from the clinical side, and then number two, from the business side. But basically, from the clinical side, what I found is you get people out of that, intense pain phase. And then, as you guys know, chiropractors are handcuffed to their tables. Like, if you're not making money on your table, treating people one-on-one, it's tough to make money. So we found is everybody that got to a certain point, you could just refer them over to the trainers. The trainers could do rehab with them. They could do stretching. They could do exercise. They could do a whole bunch of stuff that is considered under the scope of your license, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be the one, that the doctor needs to be the one actually performing it, And so after patients go through that, they start doing the rehab and stretches and stuff. And then you start adding like heavier weights or more reps. It starts to look a lot like exercise. So then you go, hey, why don't we just call this thing a gym? And that kettlebell that I'm using for rehab can also be used in the gym. And those trainers that are doing rehab can also lead class in the gym. And then it transitions then to what I think the coolest part of the business model is, which is instead of just doing like this, one visit and schedule the next visit and visit, get those people active in a habitual way, like make a habit of exercise and sell them a membership, which, as you guys know, creates one of the most magical things in all of business, which is called recurring revenue. Yeah. That's when an angel comes down every month and puts money into your bank account. Yes.
Josh, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate you sharing your insights and experience with everybody. You're right in line with where we're hoping to bring many in the profession in the future. You're ahead of the trend, a great example of exactly what we're hoping more chiropractors appreciate. Maybe, before we get into kind of the details of how you're doing what you're doing, I would love for you to expand a little bit more about what I know to be the magic of that little angel. So help chiropractors understand, any service professional for the most part typically are used to a fee for service type of a business model. You come in, I charge X amount for my service or for an hour, and there's a transaction that takes place. Complicate it even more, add insurance to it. You pay this, they'll pay that, we'll collect something in the future. And it just has become a mess. And nobody knows who's really paying, what the value is, who's the real customer, how do I know what I'm earning? And yet the one thing you know each and every month that's guaranteed is you've got your monthly expenses. That's not going anywhere. So how has recurring revenue changed your attitude, changed your feelings towards your practice, your business, your money, your family, and your relationship with your patients? Because that changes too. I'm sure there was a time when, all of us in the early years, you need the money. And so how you approach the people you're working with tends to be a little bit different than when you can afford to tell the truth. And let them know the reality of what's what. And if they decide not to follow the plan, that's on them, not your loss. How has this affected you personally in all those different areas?
Yeah. Well, Jason, I always wondered, who was the brains behind this operation? Who was the good look? So it's now clear which role you play. Possibly both roles, by the way. But in all seriousness, I think you bring up a lot of good points. And now that I have some businesses that have recurring revenue, it's a whole lot easier. And if you look at any big company, mega companies, they all have recurring revenue. Insurance companies, right? They're just getting monthly membership premiums, or what they call them premiums or whatever. Netflix, right, is getting a small payment, but they get it every month from everybody. And those companies are the ones that are moving the needle in industry. But if I go back to like when we started with this model, and yes, you are right. Like when you are young and you're a young chiro, unfortunately, you don't have the luxury of saying no. Like you can't say no. I don't want this client. I don't want that type of patient. You say yes to too many things. And I'm sure you guys have experienced that. It creates tons of headaches and tons of anxiety. But I can remember when we got probably the thing that sticks out in my mind the most of when I really felt the change of recurring revenue was it hit. This is so dumb. It seems so small. I can remember two moments when recurring revenue covered our utility bills. So our gas, our electric, and out here in Las Vegas, like in the summertime, our electrical bill was like $1,200. So we're talking about significant money. But when it hit $1,500, I remember, okay, we don't have any other bills that, we just have payroll and rent left. And that was incredibly freeing, as silly as it sounds, this little small payment. But it was like, I was shocked at how much anxiety it gave me to constantly think about how to cover that bill, right? And then we got to a point where it was like $9,600, which happened to be the exact amount of our lease, right? It was about $9,600 a month. So we covered that. And I remember like stepping back like, it's all easy from here, and it just seems like it becomes so easy because you're not seeing these like what looks like an EKG of a freaking revenue, and you guys have, I'm sure you've had those times in practice where one month you do great. Let's say you collect 35 grand. And then you realize the next month, oh, I borrowed about 9 grand last month from this month. That's what was happening, you know? Whereas with the recurring revenue model, man, it just starts stabilizing and stabilizing. And then you also realize if you can transition every patient into a recurring revenue model, which for us was the gym. Other people might be, you know, I have friends that sell supplements, that do nutritional coaching, that do, I'm trying to think of other ones here, yoga classes, a kind of gym thing, health coaching, all those things. It totally changes your business model, because I will tell you, there was a point with the gym where I would have treated people on the front end for zero because we got really good at selling them into the gym. Now, don't tell an insurance company I ever said that. You know? Screaming. And everybody on the call, I want you to charge as much as you possibly can, collect. But, you know, it changes the model. And you see that with a lot of different recurring revenue models, right?
That's absolutely correct. One of the things that you bring up, I think, is super important is, you know, really providing that stress relief. I know, you know, everybody, as you're building and growing a practice, there's a lot going on, right? You know, there's team challenges, there's monetary challenges, and man, being able to, as you described, even just chip away partially at one of those and say, that's covered, I got that set. Man, that frees up, you know, mindset opportunity, right? There's opportunity cost not only in time, but just in mental aspects of how you go about your day, and freeing any of those little blocks up. As you said, man, even though it was electric and gas, it felt like a totally new day in my practice. So with that, and specifically relative to a clinic gym hybrid model, why, you know, like, why aren't 99% of docs on board with this? What are those biggest hurdles to action? Jason and I were talking mindset earlier, and he did a fantastic job really talking about what we say within the Smart Chiropractor, results follow action. So what are those action steps, maybe those limitations in mindset? I don't know. I'll kick it over to you. Why are some docs caught up, or why aren't they able to really get in the right direction on something that sounds like, man, this makes a lot of sense in every capacity, revenue, patient, et cetera, et cetera?
Man, I wish I had the answer to that, but here's some observations I made along the way. Number one, I think that people who go into chiropractic college and other health providers, like, at their core, they like helping people. They love helping people like that. It's rewarding, and it's also like the way they solve problems, right? So unfortunately, I think we all get trapped in this. I certainly have, where it's like, oh, revenue is down, therefore I need to find more people to help or provide more service to. And in the world of chiropractic, that's a straight one-to-one, like, you have an hour, you can make X amount, which sounds great when you're young. But when you start, you know, having kids and other things, or you got to practice that's full, it's like the only way to make more money today is by adding on an hour or two at the end of the day. And I got to take that hour or two from somewhere else, right? So I think that when we get into the swirl of business and we think, well, I made this, you know, I made 25 grand this month helping people. The only way to make another 5 grand is by helping more people, which correlates with one-on-one care at the table. And I say, like, you get handcuffed to the table. I think it's hard to step away from that model and go, I'm going to try for a different thing, a membership model where I may, in my sense, right, somebody may be a member of the gym and come 0 times. They may come 22 times in the month, and it doesn't matter. We're going to charge them the same. They're going to pay, and it's going to be an automatic payment, right? It's not a X amount of service for X amount of money. It's just like a flat rate. The other thing, and I don't know if you guys have ever had this, but I love this analogy of, it's like the Hawaiian Islands is what I heard. Nobody cares about the Hawaiian Islands when they're underneath the ocean, right? They have to break the surface to matter. And I can't remember. There's something like 300 Hawaiian Islands that have yet to break the surface, but they will, you know, big enough volcano. Recurring revenue is like that, man. I remember when we signed up our first three clients onto a membership, and you're looking at it, I think it was like $150 a month. So you go, man, I just did a ton of sales work. I just did a ton of like assessment. I did this for $450 a month. That's not going to do anything for anybody. You know, like, it was such a little bit, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. But when it finally breaks that barrier, to me, that was that first utility bill, right? Like, when it breaks the point where it's a tiny little island that just covers the utility bill is awesome. When it's a decent mountain sticking out of the ocean, it covers the rent, it's even better. And when you get to the point where it's like, hey, it covers everything plus a huge profit margin, Now you're freaking looking at, Mauna Kea sticking up with like snow on the top and stuff, and it feels good. But early on, it is so hard to think like, I just did all this work for this tiny little bit of money. But believe me, mortgage companies who just charge you a tiny little percentage, they know the deal, baby. Math works in your favor with enough of those little hits. So I think it's like, it just doesn't appear to do anything at first. And we as providers constantly get caught of service equals money. And we have to step away and go, that might not be the best business model.
That's exactly right. If you're watching and you've got questions, whether it's live or the replay, you can ask them down below. We'll be watching for comments during the replay and so on. Please go ahead and ask your questions down below. Josh, my question, for whatever you're willing to share versus, hold back and so on, I'd love for you to dig down and share your experience with, what the decision-making process is all about. So, for example, one of the issues with, a gym, is capacity. How do you think about how many people at what price and packaging, what a membership should or shouldn't include? There's limitations to space, limitations to time.
Sure.
Would you rather have less people at a higher membership number, more people at a lower membership number? What's your experience? How did you think that through to come through to the results that you're now implementing?
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good points. And one thing I always love in business, like I have a little bit of business brain, and I love when there's good ratios that just like work for everything. So for example, I was in a Rotary Club and this friend of mine owns gas stations. And he says, if you want to know what's higher at the time, oil prices or food prices, compare a gallon of gas to a gallon of milk. And you'll know. So if milk's way more expensive, food prices are higher. And it's not perfect, but it's damn close. So in that sense, like rough estimation, if you have extra square footage at your office that you can turn into a fitness facility, a rough estimation of how many members you could have is take the number of square feet divided by 10. This holds true to about 1,200 square feet extra, which is, I see a lot of people like, oh, I have a 400 square foot gym, or I have 600, 800. It doesn't work for a 12,000 foot standalone gym. But if you just take so if you have let's say, Jason, you have an extra 900 square feet in your office. If we knock down a couple walls, we create 900 square feet. You divide that by 10, you're going to top out at the ability to serve about 80 to 90 clients probably, right? A lot of folks probably for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, 400 square feet seems to be the number one reason or the number one size that I see people going, hey, I have a 400 square foot gym. And sure enough, they top out about 40 members all the time, right? And then if we go to like, how do you set your price? A decent way to do that is think about a range that you're going to offer. That range, for whatever reason, works out to be 3 to 3.75 times your average monthly collection. So if you're let's say you're in Las Vegas, average out here is about $68, right? So let's just say $70. So the bottom of that range is going to be 70 times 3, which is 210. Top of that range is going to be 7 times 3.75, which I don't know what it is, but let's just say 210 to 280 bucks in that range. So pick a number in 249 a month, right? And then when going to, would you rather have less people or more people? Once again, I think sometimes we get this idea of like more. Hold the phone. Let's ease back a little bit. Let me tell you, the best clients I've ever had are, and this is what I focus on a lot in my practice, is country club golfers, right? And so I will say that my patient population is male, pale, and stale. They're old, crusty white guys at country clubs. And now we sold, we do a lot of memberships. We did at like the 250 range. We had 4 people that paid a elite level VIP membership that we totally made up on the spot. That was $1,500 a month. So, and what does that include? That includes membership to all the classes, and then 3 to 4 times a week you can come in, you get a one-on-one, and then we're doing regular every month to 2 months. We're doing a reassessment. So it's all about golf, right? So they tell me, oh, I want to drive the ball further this month. Okay, perfect. And then the next month, they try something else, and it's like, okay, well, whatever you want, we'll build it, right? Now, what's crazy about those people is 2 of them had vacations home where they spent 1 week out of every month at their vacation home. Like one was in Wyoming and another one was somewhere else. And then they spent 2 or 3 months of the summer at the other place. But they are of the financial ability, they never stop paying that amount, right? They paid $1,500 even when they're only here for 3/4 of the time and 3/4 of the year. And I'm like, I don't know what to do right now, but I'll tell you what, I'll let you tell me when to stop charging you. And it never happened. They were fine. They love the service and they're easy to deal with. So if given the option, I would say go for the highest level, fewest patients you can, because it's just easier work, right?
No doubt about it, Josh. I think there's a couple important things that you brought up right there that I want to make sure that listeners, watchers, viewers are tuning into. One is really, I'm going to say expanding your mind, understanding, hey, there are options where I can help people generate revenue beyond just for that fee for service model. The second part about it is really, and I think this is person dependent, not profession dependent, but that getting over that scarcity mindset, as you said, man, understanding that there are some people coming into that practice, not everybody, but there are going to be some people who would, go through, as we would say in the marketing world, an ascension. They are happy to pay more for a higher level of service. I'll say it one more time. They're happy to pay more for a higher level of service. So exactly as you said, you found, what am I passionate about? You're a sports guy. You've done the training. So you were able to build and develop really more of a customized solution, not for everybody, but for those individuals who are happy to stay and pay. And as you said, really tying this whole conversation together, it was built on recurring revenue. So docs out there that, maybe this week, maybe last week, next week, your schedule is just not full at all. Imagine if you had a dozen individuals on a multi-$1,000 retainer. Again, it might not be for every doc in every situation, but all of us are passionate about something and certainly can grow and develop a plan and attract those individuals by really putting that message out there. Josh, I know that we said we're going to go 15 and we are way over time, but this has to be a conversation that we continue next year. There's so many avenues that we can dive into and explore. And I'd love to kick it over to you for maybe some final thoughts. And also, if you want to tell docs where they can connect with you and learn more about what you're up to, that'd be super helpful.
Yeah, well, anybody that wants to help contribute to my recurring monthly revenue, I'm totally fine with that. And you can find me at clinicgymhybrid.com. That's our website. We have some programs that will help you get a clinic gym hybrid up and going if next year is the year you do this. And I would say that, we have people doing this all the way down to like 175 square feet in their office, which is not a big space. And that woman is running classes of 2 to 3 people at a time. But a couple things that I want to cover that just came up in my mind as we were going through this. Number one, I think Jason had asked me earlier about like how you get to recurring revenue. One thing that really illustrated to me the downside of the service-based time for money kind of relationship, when we had trainers, a full day for a personal trainer is about 6 clients, about 6 1-hour sessions, right? And if you can stack them, that's great. Well, when you see the effect of a single no-show onto a personal trainer's schedule, it reflects like, oh my God, I'm having that same effect. Like if you take one person out, if you book up 6 clients, you take one that no-shows and doesn't pay because you're doing session per session fee, you realize you basically took the profit of that day down to 0. I don't even know if you're covering the costs, right? Well, that same thing's happening in your patient schedule. It's just blending in because we don't see one person an hour. We see multiple, 4 to 6 or whatever you're seeing. And so it kind of hides your mistakes, but it became very apparent when we first had those trainers. So I'd tell everybody, like, look at that number because it's burning you. And if you can find a way around that, that's awesome. Second thing, Jeff, you talked about the ascension model. And I saw this in the gym too. When you provide this high level service to your clients, it's not, I think we as like these service hearted individuals go like, I don't know if I could ask for that much, or I don't know what, but you have to remember, you're also empowering your patient with the feeling of their achievement, right? So like I don't look like it, and I certainly don't move like it, but I ran a marathon at one point in my life, right? When I went in and got a new pair of shoes, I felt I was not in any better shape, but I felt like I was more of a runner, right? So then I was like, you know what? I probably need one of those cool little fuel belts that I see the people, using. And I think I had to buy like 2 of them to clip them together to wrap around my big body, but because all these runners are tiny. But I felt like more of a runner at that moment. And did that help me become healthier? Well, I would argue yes, because it attached in my mind the idea like I am a runner and I'm doing runner things, right? Which was get a fuel belt, get new shoes, get a pair of shorts, get a shirt. I don't know how many of those little experiences, or when I registered for the race, things like that made me feel like more of a runner. And again, at that moment, I'm not in any better shape or any closer to finishing the marathon, but psychologically, I'm a human being and we can't get away from that. So if you go to somebody who wants to join your little fitness program in your gym, and I'm saying like 1 or 2 people, those old dudes that we're helping with golf, every time they come in and we do this assessment, we're helping them feel like more of a golfer, more of an athlete. Does that help them be more committed? I think it does. And I bet you have a lot of clients that as you sell them a supplement, a nutrition plan, a foam roller, you refer them to your friend who runs a running shoe store for a custom fit pair of shoes, you are empowering them to be more of the person they aspire to be. And for that, they're going to pay you money. And you know what? It might be the best money they ever spent. So don't think it's all on your shoulders. Ask those patients what they aspire to or what they want or what they dream about, and then just serve up the pieces that you can.
That is so well said, and a great reminder that, service and business can live together very happily and quite often do, but you got to take those action steps to do so. So as I said before, you open up a whole nother can of worms, but we're definitely going to have you back next year because, understanding recurring revenue and memberships is something that's dramatically underutilized for an overwhelming majority of chiropractors, and it doesn't or shouldn't be that way. And having the experience, having that education, having the systems and models as you briefly described today to help docs take it to the next level, I think is awesome. On a personal note, it's complementary to what a lot of what we're doing. So we wish you have a fantastic holiday. Thanks for coming on short notice, being interviewed, talking about what you're up to, because there's no doubt it's going to impact a lot of chiropractors. It is right now, and 2022 is going to be a fantastic year. So thanks for taking some time, Josh.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. And I hope that little angel comes down and puts magical recurring revenue in your stocking. But seriously, I hope you guys have a great year. I love what you're doing. And anytime I can join in the conversation, I certainly appreciate it. So good luck to everybody watching. And I think next year is going to be even better than this one.
Thanks, Josh. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Have a great one.
All right. So that was Dr. Josh Satterlee. Check out Clinic Gym Hybrid. We'll drop those links down in the comments so you can connect with him. But now we are going to move on to our next segment. We are cooking. If you have comments, leave them down below. And we're going to be here each and every Tuesday. So be sure, set an alarm, throw a pigeon out the window. I don't know what you have to do, but ensure that you are tuning in with us every single Tuesday so that you can step up your practice. We're going to talk lifestyle. We're going to talk business, all of those things that are part of being a chiropractor and part of being a successful chiropractor as well. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to The Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.